Alright, strap in Tarnish. Today we're asking a question that feels illegal to even say out loud. Can FromSoftware ever top Elden Ring? But I can't help this feeling, this horrible little gremlin feeling that Elden Ring might be their magnum opus, and also their ceiling. Okay, imagine you're FromSoftware. For years you're known as the "those games are hard" company, the studio that makes you die to a dog, lose 40,000 souls and then stare at a wall like you're in timeout. You make Demon Souls and people are like, wow, this is niche and brutal and I love it in the way I love headaches. You make Dark Souls and suddenly it's not a niche anymore, it's a genre, it's everywhere. And then you just keep going. Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, Sekiro, each one is different, each one is sharper, each one is basically you walking into the room and saying, hello, yes, I am still the best at this, thank you. Then Elden Ring happens, and Elden Ring is a cultural event. It's one of those releases where even people who don't play games are vaguely aware of it. And the scariest part of all of this, it's actually a brilliant game, like annoyingly good. So now the question isn't can FromSoft make a great game again? They obviously can. The question is, can they ever make a game that feels like Elden Ring felt for the first time? And I think that's where things get kind of unfair. We need to define the top, because otherwise we're just throwing opinions at each other. When people say top Elden Ring, they might mean bigger map, more bosses, more builds, more secrets and spectacle. But is that what made Elden Ring hit like it did? Because I don't think it was the size alone. Yes, the size did help, sure. The map is absurdly large. It's like they looked at open world games and said, what if we made one, but instead of 300 collectible feathers like Assassin's Creed, you find literal cosmic horror behind a church. But the real Elden Ring magic was timing, and I'll get to this shortly. It was the moment you stepped out into Limgrave and saw the golden tree and realized, oh, this is Dark Souls, but it escaped containment. That first time feeling that I'm tiny and the world is huge and I'm not supposed to be here feeling. That is extremely hard to replicate. But the real problem is this: Elden Ring created a monster. It also created about 900 monsters in your brain. Because now every time FromSoftware announces something, the audience doesn't just want a great game, because they've been so spoiled by this Elden Ring. They want Elden Ring 2. But even better. They want a new open world that's even bigger and denser and wider, with bosses that are more iconic than Melania, and a reveal moment that hits harder than Siofra River. And if it doesn't do that, if the next game is merely just excellent, people will be like, yeah, I enjoyed it, but it did not rewrite my DNA, so it's kind of mid. This is unfortunately what success does. It turns the audience into dragons. You give them treasure once, and now they sleep on it forever and hiss when you bring them anything smaller. Elden Ring gave us so many of those moments that we've become numb. You can only see a secret underground sky city for the first time once. After that, your brain starts going, okay, cool, where's the next one? But when I mean magnum opus, I know it's a big phrase. It's like calling something the final form. It implies some kind of endpoint, like the studio has achieved its ultimate expression. And Elden Ring kind of is that. It's FromSoft taking the level design loops of Dark Souls, the build variety in RPG depth, the boss spectacles of Dark Souls 3, and then pouring it all into an open world that actually works for their design philosophy. And that's wild, because open worlds are usually where good design goes to die. Most open worlds are like, go here, do 40 chores, watch a cutscene, then a man explains taxes. Elden Ring is like, go anywhere, get obliterated, figure it out, and the reward is discovering a haunted elevator that drops you into the Earth's bloodstream. It's structured freedom. What I mean by that, it's big with intention. And the thing is, it also feels like a culmination, like a studio that's been iterating for over a decade finally got to say, okay, this is the version of the dream where we had the budget. So yeah, it feels like the magnum opus, but feeling like the magnum opus is exactly what creates the next problem. Let's say they try to top it in the obvious way. They make Elden Ring 2 but bigger. More bosses, weapons, more everything basically. At first, you're like, yes, thank you, feed me, feed me. But then something happens. Bigger starts to mean diluted. Because Elden Ring already had repetition complaints. Let's not pretend it didn't. If they go bigger, they risk turning their handcrafted intensity into a content sprawl. If they go smaller and tighter, people will call it disappointing. That's obvious, because the audience equates topping with expanding. This is the trap. FromSoft is now stuck between scale expectations, give me another continent, dad, and design integrity. We cannot physically animate 700 unique bosses bosses without the dev team turning into ash. So how do they win? By not playing the same game, but that leads to another scary truth. If they don't make another Elden Ring scale phenomenon, a certain chunk of the audience will interpret that as they fell off. The reason Elden Ring landed so hard for so many people is because it was a gateway. It pulled in Souls veterans who saw it as the ultimate evolution, that's obvious. Open world players who came for exploration and stayed for the trauma. People who'd never touched a FromSoft game who bought it because everyone was screaming. And all of those groups do not experience the same shock. Oh, this world doesn't care about me. For veterans it was, wow, they translated their formula into an open world and it still works. For noobs it was, what do you mean I can just walk into a dragon's house and die instantly? Which, you know, it happens very often. That collective holy crap moment is lightning in a bottle. Even if FromSoft makes something objectively better designed than Elden Ring, tighter pacing, fewer repeats, more redefined combat, let's say, there's a chance it still won't feel bigger because the novelty is gone. We know the language now, and knowing is poison to wonder, which brings me to Miyazaki himself. Well, the Miyazaki voice in my head, of course. Hello, we will top Elden Ring, and we the audience immediately go, okay, sure, but can you top the part where I found Siofra River? He says yes. And can you top the part where Radahn becomes a meteor and I realized the game was casually throwing anime at me? Yes. Can you top Millennia, like culturally? The idea of Millennia, the myth, the suffering, and the memes. And Miyazaki goes, what if we made 2 Millennias? No, stop, that's not topping, that's a war crime. This is what I mean. The moment you try to top something by escalation, you risk becoming ridiculous. And FromSoft is many things, but they're rarely ridiculous in the cheap way. So the question arises, the ultimate question. Are they doomed? No, but also, maybe in a specific way, FromSoft can absolutely make games as good as Elden Ring. They can probably make games that are better in certain design metrics, but will it top Elden Ring in the collective mindshare sense? This is the one we compare everything to sense. That's where I'm skeptical, because Elden Ring benefited a lot from a decade of accumulated trust. The open world boom still being kind of hot and saturated the George R. Martin marketing mystique, and a lot of people underestimate that. There's a lot of people that came into this game because of George R. Martin. And the pandemic era and aftermath hunger for a gigantic escapist time sink. That cocktail is hard to recreate on purpose. It's like a band dropping their masterpiece album at exactly the right cultural moment. The only way to top Elden Ring is not to chase Elden Ring. And let me explain. This is the part where I stop doom posting and actually give the studio a way out. If FromSoft want to top Elden Ring, they can't do it by trying to out Elden Ring. They have to do what they've always done when they're at their best. Pivot. Remember, this studio didn't become legendary by making Dark Souls but again forever. They took risks. Bloodborne's rally system and how fluid the combat is, Sekiro's posture combat, the parrying and everything. Even Armored Core coming back is them saying we're not just this one thing. To top Elden Ring, they need a new angle. Maybe a smaller world that's denser and more reactive with less copy-pasted bosses and all that stuff. A combat system with a new core hook as fundamental as posture. And this is where my original feeling comes back. I can't shake the idea that even if FromSoft makes another masterpiece, a big chunk of the audience will say, yeah, but it's not Elden Ring. Because Elden Ring is now less a game and it's more of a memory. A time in your life, a phase. Remember that month where every conversation was, where are you? I'm in Caelid. Oh my god, I'm sorry. That shared suffering is sticky. So when I say I'm not sure they can top it, I don't mean that they can make something better. What I mean is I'm not sure we as an audience will let them. So my final answer before you throw rocks at me, can FromSoftware ever top Elden Ring? Objectively, yes. They can make something tighter and sharper, more refined than Elden Ring. Culturally, maybe not, because Elden Ring was a culmination, a perfect storm, and unfortunately the expectations are now so high that topping it might be impossible in the way we mean it, like trying to top your favorite childhood memory. You can have new amazing memories, but you can't go back to being 8 years old and discovering magic for the first time. Elden Ring was magic, and now we know how the spell is cast, so maybe the real hope isn't top Elden Ring. Maybe the hope is make us feel a different kind of magic, and if anyone can do that, it's the company that taught an entire generation to enjoy being punched in the soul. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to boop the like button.